Alright, hello and welcome back to Midwest Charge. This morning we are on our way to Florida for Memorial Day weekend. The car has just completed at 100% while we were putting the rest of our bags in, so let's go ahead and get unplugged and get on the road. Today we are road tripping from Ohio to Florida. We started at about 6:15 a.m. and it is 9:55 a.m. now. We are in Tennessee, just crossed the border a few minutes ago, and or maybe more than a few minutes ago actually. Yeah, okay, so we crossed the border probably, I don't know, like half an hour ago, something like that. And we are about 14 minutes away from the Powell, Tennessee Supercharger. There are 24 stalls. It is only 34 cents per kilowatt hour, which is good. Much less expensive than the CCS options in this area. So we're going to go ahead and stop there. We'll arrive at 10:10 a.m. and then I am going to go grab some chicken at Zaxby's for breakfast slash lunch slash brunch. Because I was thinking of stopping at Buc-ee's in Richmond, Kentucky, but when I passed by there, I was at like 49% battery, and I just couldn't bring myself to stop with a half full battery. So all the way down to Powell, Tennessee it is. It will have been 290 something miles. I'll get all the trip stats once we park, but it should be almost 300 miles for our first leg, so we'll have covered a significant portion of the drive. I'll see you there. We have reached Powell, Tennessee. We are 3/4 of a mile from the Supercharger. So here are the stats. 296.2 miles so far. It'll tick over to 297 once we park. 69.7 kilowatt hours used. 3 hours and 53 minutes on the road with an average of 235.3 miles per kilowatt hour. That does include HVAC. I actually had the car heating up in the morning because it was 42 or 43 degrees when I left, and now it's mid-60s, so I have the car cooling down to 70 because in the cabin it gets a little warm. We're at a 3% state of charge, so I'm going to continue letting FSD do its thing. We'll see if we can get it to park itself at a Supercharger. I've heard other people talk about how FSD 13.2.9 is supposed to be able to like park itself at destinations. Somehow, with my luck, I have never been able to get it to park at any destinations in my regular driving. But hey, maybe it'll park at the Supercharger. So we'll give that a try. We'll get it plugged in, figure out where we're going next, and then we are off to grab some food from Zaxby's. By the way, let me know if you guys want to see more of this dual recording view, where you can see the front and facing into the cabin at the same time. My only personal dislike with this type of recording here is it seems like the in-cabin image is flipped, and so it looks like I'm on the wrong side of the car. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments, whether you like it, don't like it, if I should use it more, or stop using it at all. There's a Rivian behind us, so I'm wondering if he's going to be charging here. Looks like there's quite a few pickup trucks here in the Supercharger spots, which is typical, I guess. So let's see what it wants to do here. Nope, it's just going to park. So I am going to pull forward and then actually turn around so that I'm a little closer to the other side of the Supercharger site. There's 24 stalls here, so there's quite a few parking spaces. Wow, that car did not shift into drive when I slid it forward. All right, let's go ahead and snag this end spot here. Well, that was highly unfortunate. I thought I was recording that whole time, but apparently not. So, quick summary. 3% battery, ramped up to about 170 kilowatts, and I'm sure it'll continue to ramp as it gets closer to 5%. In the meantime, we are going to walk down to Zaxby's. It's probably a familiar sight if you've seen some of my other videos traveling to and from Florida. The Superchargers are just up that hill there, and then I usually cut behind the back of this little shopping mall area in order to get to the Zaxby's, which is right between the dumpsters and the back of the building. That was some seriously good Zaxby's. They had just opened about 10 minutes prior to my walking over there. So that was the first chicken of the day. Super fresh, brand new cooking oil. Very, very good stop. All right, we are almost back to the Supercharger. So let's go ahead and see what kind of state of charge we're at and where we will be off to next. Okay, here we are back in the car. We're at 77% state of charge. We started at 3, so we've added 74%, which is a really good amount of power. So let's see how far will 77% take us. All right, sweet. Looks like that will take us all the way through Atlanta and then just a little bit farther. So I think that's what we're going to do. Because, yeah, there's not a whole lot after that until we get to Macon. I don't want to sit here for much longer, so let's go ahead and get unplugged and get back on the road. Alright, almost half an hour into the drive, and we are still 3.5 hours away from the Supercharger in McDonough, Georgia. Interestingly, it appears that the car has a bit of an issue. If I turn on FSD, it works totally fine, as you can see here. Just have to be attentive, and it drives. But if I switch over, I have a separate profile for adaptive cruise and lane centering, and I have an error that the cruise control is unavailable. Which makes absolutely no sense, because they use the exact same cameras and computers. But, yeah, cruise control unavailable. No idea why. Alright, welcome back. We are 3 miles from the McDonough Supercharger, so we should be getting there in somewhere between 3 and 5 minutes. We are currently using the expressway because the regular I-75 south is quite backed up. So we're just going to cruise on in down Jonesboro Road, and I'll see you at the Supercharger. Alright, we have arrived. We're at 7% now, out of order stall 4C. So let's go ahead and get plugged in, and then we'll go over the stats. I like the stickers here. Do not charge from this side, charge from this side. These are the new V4 type dispensers. So we will push the button and plug it in. Oh, there we go. Okay. That handshake took a little longer than normal. Alright, we are now charging in McDonough, Georgia. We're getting 242. We're probably going to hit 250 kilowatts here in just a moment. We pulled in with 7%. It's 27 cents per kilowatt hour, so quite inexpensive. But our last leg of the trip here, we covered, that's not correct. Here we go, since charge. I had to reset the vehicle. So 238.9 miles driven since our last stop in Powell, Tennessee. We used up 51.1 kilowatt hours, and we got 213.8 watt hour per mile. Now, if you're wondering why current drive is so different, I had a problem today. My cruise control stopped working. I don't know why, but it did. So for some reason, when I tried to enable cruise control, it just didn't work. It threw a DL_A175 error, cruise control unavailable. And then I tried auto steer, and that also didn't work. And so I tried FSD, and for some reason FSD works, which makes no sense to me because they use the same computers and the same cameras. But I went ahead and called Tesla, and I spoke to someone remotely. They were able to try to diagnose the car, and they said that we went through all the troubleshooting steps. We held down the 2 buttons on the steering wheel to reboot the infotainment. I stopped the car, got out, got back in, used the power off button in the safety menu to fully shut the car down, exit, re-enter. That didn't do it either. So for some reason, FSD is the only thing that's working, and adaptive cruise and lane centering is not. Anyway, I need to use the restroom, and the car is charging at full speed. We are already up to 17%, so I'm going to grab my trash, find a trash can, find a restroom, and then we will regroup and figure out where we're going next. Looked around a couple places, decided to go to the Urban Air 2. So it says Urban Air Z, Urban Airs, I don't know. The Urban Air Adventure Park, which was, there was not a whole lot of adventuring going on, but they did have restrooms. They were kind enough to let me use them, which was super cool. Alright, I forgot to reactivate the climate control, so turned that back on. It is quite toasty in here. Let's go ahead and see where to next. Lake Park, 16 stalls, fun little V4 chargers just like these. How far away? Alright, I've just loaded up Waze on my phone just as a second navigation source, and we are already up to 54%. We're showing minus 10% arrival, which means 64 would be the bare minimum to get there, so I think 70% is going to be when we depart. We're still doing pretty well, 102 kilowatts at 54%. Not the fastest, but not the worst. I think, like I said, we might be here for another 10 minutes or so. Then we'll be rolling out. This station filled up very quickly. When I got here, I think there were 6 or 7 open stalls. By the time I walked back from the restroom, there was 1. And then, while I was talking about route planning, that one was filled. So this might be a full station, or maybe there's 1 or 2 open now if somebody's moved out, but this place is quite busy. Alright, I just finished my my plug share check-ins, and I've just loaded up the next location we're going to. So this is going to be another 3-hour drive. We've just crossed over to 65%, so 5 more percent, and we will be out of here. For those of you who don't know, the Tesla routing system, the navigation in the car that takes into account what charge level you're at and what you're going to arrive at, it's called the Route Planner. The Tesla Route Planner was recently revamped a few months ago, and I don't know how I feel about it. It seems to be more accurate, which I like. However, it also seems to be much less sure of itself in the beginning. So when we left the Supercharger in McDonough, Georgia, we were at 70% battery. It said we were going to arrive with 6%. Since then, I have seen as high as 9% and as low as 1 or 2%. And it just keeps bouncing in between them quite wildly. And That's something that the old route planner did not do so much. It would move around a bit, right? But it had a pretty good idea of how fast the car was going to go, what the traffic was like, and how to show a consistently accurate number. For the most part. There were times when it massively screwed up and just way screw people over, which is not good, which is why the revamp was important. But I don't really like the hesitation, flip-flopping back and forth at the beginning. I wish I could show it, but there's some rather heavy traffic here, so I'm not going to take the camera off the mount. Alright guys, we are approaching the Lake Park, Georgia Supercharger. It's about 5 miles from the border of Florida, and there are 16 stalls. It's V3.5, it's got like the V4 dispensers, 325 kilowatt max, but it's got V3 power cabinets, so 500 volt maximum. So according to the map, it looks like we've got potentially a Zaxby's and a Chick-fil-A nearby. So once we pull up to the chargers and get plugged in and figure out which one we're going to, we're probably going to do some chicken tonight, because that sounds really good. We're at 5% charge, and it looks like I only need another 235, maybe 240 miles to go until we get to our destination. So I think what I'm going to do is, again, assuming that the area is walkable, plug the car in, go have dinner, sit down, eat, finish eating, hop back in the car, roll out. Because I'm thinking with 235, 240 miles to go, we can probably do that somewhere in the, like, if we charge to 80 or 85%. So, we'll see. 5%. Snag 3D. Alright, the handshake on this one was a lot smoother. So I don't know what was going on with the last station. Looks like we're green. Go ahead and hop in here. 5%. We'll turn this off for a minute. See if we can get a good ramp here. 172, 175, 182, 194, 208. Alright, I'm sure this will go up to 250 here while I'm talking, but let's get ready to run across the street. Oh, safety. Alright guys, we just got back in the car. I froggered my way across the 5-lane road again and survived. When I hopped in the car, we were at 71%. We've just ticked up to 72%. It looks like we should be able to make it with just a few more percent. So I'm going to let it charge up to probably 81, maybe 82%. And then we will take off for our final destination. So we're about 3.5 hours away from our destination, 224 more miles. So not very far to go. And over the course of this trip, we have done 748 miles so far. We've used 169 kilowatt hours. We've been averaging 225.7 watt hour per mile, which, considering the speeds we've been going, pretty awesome. We've just crossed over to 80%. We're charging at 50 kilowatts, so we've really come off our peak speeds pretty far here. I've only been sitting for maybe a minute or two, just waiting for the car to finish. Everything else was, throwing trash away, getting food, using the restroom, that kind of thing. But the car is now confident that we will make it to Winter Haven, Florida at 6%. So I'm going to go ahead and just let it tick right up to 81, and then as soon as it hits 81, we will unplug and roll. we are 1 hour into the final leg of our journey. We have 2.5 hours to go, and if you were wondering, yes, I did try the adaptive cruise again, and no, it still does not work. Alright, this will probably be the last cabin video I make until we arrive at our destination over in Winter Haven, Florida, mostly just because the sun is coming down, and so visibility is going to get rather poor, so the camera's not going to be able to see things very well. But we are 2 hours away from Winter Haven right now. We have gone 117 miles so far. We're averaging 254 watt-hour per mile, so much worse efficiency, well, not much worse, but worse efficiency than previous legs, but still not terrible. We're almost just about at that 4 mile per kilowatt-hour mark, which is quite good considering the speeds that we have been going in order to keep up with traffic. Over the course of this trip, I have been honestly very impressed with the range and the charging speed of the car. I still wish the car had a flatter charging curve, but given the amount of time I spent waiting on the car, which was probably 10 minutes or less this whole trip, I feel like it's definitely capable enough. Now, a lot of that comes from this being the most efficient Tesla you can get right now. It has a single motor. It has the largest battery, well, for a Model 3. And it can outdrive pretty much everything except a Model S. But then in terms of range replenished, it seems to be right up there with the Model S, maybe a little bit quicker. So this really is the spec to get if you're going to be road tripping a lot, because it's fast enough. It has, all the tech you need. But it has really long range and really good charging. The Tesla has just switched to dark mode. I will see you on the other side. Alright, after 970 miles, we have finally arrived in Florida. So let's go over some quick trip stats. We drove 971 miles. We put 218.4 kilowatt hours through the battery, and we got 225.0 watt-hour per mile as the trip average overall. Alright, thanks for joining me on this quick little road trip down to Florida today. Overall, it went surprisingly smoothly. It is the Memorial Day weekend, so quite surprised there wasn't even more traffic out, but I think we did pretty well. We got 3 stops in overall, and yeah, looking forward to doing the return trip. See you next time.